Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision-making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Teasha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today I am excited to welcome a visionary leader who has transformed a startup into a global marketing technology powerhouse. His name is Ajay. He's the CEO and founder of Starista Global. Starista has grown from a two-person operation working out of an apartment to a global data-driven marketing solution provider with nearly 200 employees spanning 3 continents. Ajay, thank you so much for being here. Would you share more about Starista, the work you guys are doing, how you're growing, and tell us all about this recent award that you guys have received?
Teasha, thank you so much for having me here on your podcast. I'd love to share a little bit more about what Starista does. So I started the company with a simple idea. How do we help other companies get more clients? So that was sort of my driving philosophy. And part of it was just as running a startup myself and trying a few different things. The hardest thing is to find new clients, whether you are a startup or whether you're a multinational company. Everybody needs new clients and prospects. So how we go about it is really looking at your online presence and how do we make that and amplify that to people that don't know you. So acquisition marketing is where we really shine. And we use kind of 3 channels for it. One is email, the other is connected TV. So these are ads that you see when you're watching Hulu and MLB.TV, anything online that you're seeing. And the third one is really the data itself. How do we enhance the data? How do we actually help you find those prospects? Because let's say you are a hospital that's trying to recruit doctors. How do you even know who somebody is a doctor? So helping people understand, navigate that data landscape is the third but most important leg of the pillars we have.
That's fantastic. The 3 pillars are critical when the key question is, can we get more customers in the door? So thanks for sharing and congratulations on all of your success. And you know what? Before we dive in too deep, I mentioned it just a little bit in the opening, but I really want to make sure that we get this out. Congratulations on recently being recognized for the USPA ACC for Asian American entrepreneurs and founders. That's great. Tell us a little bit more about that and what that might mean to you.
Yeah, this award is very special as I moved to this country when I was 12. So first generation myself. And this is really an organization that recognizes the contributions that first generation Asian Americans are making to the country. I think there's, a lot of companies, even Google has a CEO that was born in India, for example. But this is really focused more on small to mid-sized businesses, and it's a great opportunity for us to network with each other, but also have an ability to talk to some of the other brands like Wells Fargo that are there working with the minority-owned businesses at large. And so that was a special award, especially for somebody who came to this country at a very young age, just the recognition and the networking ability, and to be recognized by my peers. That's a big one. It was in Washington, D.C. at a brand new MGM casino. So it was a good time.
That's fantastic. You have built Starista from a startup into a global powerhouse, as I mentioned earlier. What do you believe are the most critical factors for a company to succeed? And I want to focus on customer acquisition and retention. And you talked a little bit about this already, but also narrow in on what this looks like in a data-driven marketing landscape.
So I think with kind of a lot of advent in AI and, technology improving in general, it's almost making people somewhat lazy because you can send out these very uncustomized messages to people. You don't get responses. I'm sure on LinkedIn, you get tons of messages that you're like, does this person even look at my profile, right? And so what we try to solve for is how do we do this at scale and still be able to personalize those messages. Because at the end of the day, in B2B world, you're still selling to a human being at the end of the other side. So you're not really kind of bombarding them with white papers and all of those impersonal things, but it's really, you're trying to get to a conversation, kind of like you and I are having on the podcast, but in kind of a sales setting. And that's important, is to get to that conversation stage. And that's what we try to help do companies, is how do we get people to at least write an email that gets responses? How do I personalize the message enough where somebody on the other side feels valued, that you took time because you care about their time? And being able to do that goes a long way in able to get a conversation going. And I think one of the harder things as you scale companies is, if I am sitting here in San Antonio and we have somebody that's working in a remote part in Portland, Oregon, which is, common that these days it happens at companies, are they saying the same thing when somebody's asking them what does do? And if they are, then you have succeeded in being able to scale the company. But if they haven't, then that's a problem. So a good example is the fast food chains, the good ones, the big ones like McDonald's. Their goal is to have the same experience, whether you are in San Antonio or even in a McDonald's in India. They're supposed to greet a certain way, that you're supposed to have the fast experience at a McDonald's. And that's what I think a lot of times smaller businesses, when they're scaling up, don't think about as they're growing up, because they're going after new clients, but the clients should have the same experience, whether they're talking to me or our intern.
You know what's fascinating about this, if I could go a little bit deeper in this area with you. So you talked about value. And so value being the most important thing that you're trying to derive for the client. So your clients are trying to get value for their customers. You're trying to get value for your customers. But value is so often a human perspective. Like, we have to feel that it's valuable to us, which can be a little bit challenging, which means that in the course of understanding, trying to get to value, we have to know who these people are and what they think and how they feel and what might impact them. Can you kind of go a little bit deeper into that area? And I kind of want you to think about this, because I know you understand authoritative identity data, right? You understand how that's transforming like omni-channel marketing. A lot of this, if I could connect the two, or you can help me to connect the two, the value, ICP, omni-channel, identity data. Draw some lines for me, and if there's any sort of decision making you guys are doing that helps you to draw those lines for your clients.
The big advantage we have in 2025 is that there is a lot of data available. So if you just Google identity graph, there's anything from somebody selling online data for $100 to $1 million. So there's a wide range of data that is available. So what we try to work with clients on is not worrying about how much data is available, but what's the good data that's available. And the good data can be subjective. People look at different things, but it's really, we ask clients to start with, what do they know? So if they know, say, the San Antonio market really well, we look at sample records before we start a campaign. Hey, these are the type of people we think are going to fit for you. So creating an ideal client profile is something that's huge for us. We don't make any money from it, but getting that right is important. It's part of our discovery process, is getting the ideal client profile right. Once we have that right, we can connect that to our identity graph, because again, the ID graph is billions of data points that are available out there. But until you really know who you want to go after, that's, I think, the more critical part of it, rather than the abundance of data, which was not the case even 10, 20 years ago. There wasn't as much data available, but we're kind of coming into a global transformation age. It's really still, to me, basic things like knowing who you want to target that can get you to the next level. But also, say you're kind of your growth is stagnating, which happens a lot, especially in this sort of an economy. To think ahead, it may not be your ideal client profile today, but what could it look like tomorrow if we change our ideal client profile and then apply the identity graph. And for those viewers that are not familiar with ID
Yeah,
graphs,
tell us more.
so ID graphs, it's kind of the simplest way of thinking about it is you open an Excel sheet and it's really your name, address, phone number, email. But then it could be a combination of things. But the modern ID graph, like the ones Oracle and Google are building on you, are much more complex. So they have interests, hobbies, what kind of ice cream you like. If you have subscribed to a magazine, in the past, like if you read Time magazine, that kind of information. So it's being aggregated from a number of different sources. A lot of it is actually in public domain. So, for example, if you're a house owner, you can go to the county website, find out exactly how much the house is estimated value to be. And similarly, your voter registration record in most states is public as well. So there's tons of information out there, ton of it from public sources. But the hard part why ID graphs are important is say you have a first name, last name, but then you go by your middle name, or there's a spelling mistake. If Macy's took your information and the cashier left an A out of your name, and then all of a sudden, hey, how do I connect this person to your Macy's purchase history? So a lot of it has to do with human error that happens, why ID graphs are needed. But a lot of times people are juniors or have one or two after their name, and those get truncated, removed, or human error happens again. So it's really ID graph is how do I put you as one human and connect you with everything about you? So that's kind of the way we look at it as a comprehensive 360-degree view about somebody.
Yeah. Now, what would be cool is if people were actually transparent, then they probably would get to value sooner in a lot of different areas. People would be able to identify what would be valuable to them.
Right.
So that's super interesting. So you founded Starista, and your mission was creating a more transparent and measurable data-driven marketing ecosystem. When you're making these high stakes decisions about platform development, client strategies, and things like that, what's a framework that you use to make sure that you're delivering both cutting edge data and insights and proven execution methods that really are going to help acquire more customers? Likely faster, right? I don't know if faster is in there.
Yeah. So one of the big things we do is we want to listen to the client. So listening is important. You want to hear what their pain points are. So listening to pain points is the very first thing we do because at the end of the day, the client should know about an industry. They work in it, they live in it, they breathe in it more than a marketing company should. So a lot of marketing companies, I think, where they make the mistake is they want to be prescriptive and solve for problems they solve for. But if you've worked with a retailer before, it doesn't mean the same problem will be affecting the telecom people. So listening and understanding what the challenges and issues are can help understand what the actual solution looks like on our side. So we go with the approach that we have the technology, but we can apply it differently to different companies and different problems. So understanding what the roadblocks are, understanding the common objections, and also knowing why have they failed in the past. Understanding that they used an agency or they had an in-house team, but knowing what their failures were helps us create the solution for the future where we can really hone in on what the future looks like for them.
Do you feel like your clients, when they come to you, they always know? Or do you find that they struggle sometimes to articulate either the problem or the opportunity?
So generally, the conversations will start with they know something is not working, but they don't always know why. So a lot of times they'll say, "Hey, we are doing everything perfectly. Our emails are fantastic. We even have commercials running on local TV, and nobody is signing up on my web form." So that's where it starts. And then you really have to dig deeper into what the issues are. So we use a lot of tools are free, like the Google Analytics could be our best if we use it right. And it's a absolutely free tool for people. but being able to track and being able to measure what their issues are. So one of the first things we'll do, for example, is we'll put a pixel on people's website. Pixel is essentially a one-line code. And then we start looking at what is the traffic like? Where are the drop-offs happening? And also, what are the pages that people are reading? What is the message on somebody's website that's actually resonating? And then we can build campaigns based on what is working, or we need to, sometimes there's nothing we can do on the data-driven side if the website is ugly, and it's a hard thing
Right.
to tell somebody that your baby is ugly.
Your baby is ugly,
Yep,
but we
exactly.
can always fix that.
We can always fix that, yeah. We might just build a new landing page that doesn't look like the website. But it's really, we look to see, hey, if we were coming into this person's website, is there trust in this business? Especially when we're working with SMBs where the website may have been done by somebody's uncle 10 years ago, and that's the one they're using, and they think it's a great website. But I think the way we overcome some of these objections, especially when it comes down working with SMBs, is hey, look, you may feel a certain way, but looking at the data on what the high bounce rate from your site is, we probably need to fix some things on your landing page versus keep spending more money on marketing. And so it's almost one of the things we have done effectively, I think, is sometimes we say no to clients. So if we don't feel we can deliver the results and they're not willing to listen to us, occasionally the right move is to walk away from it. Right, and it hurts us because we're letting go of short-term money, but in the long run, we want clients that are staying with us for many years. And in fact, I've had opportunities where somebody was working for a small company, and we said no. And I've gotten a call from them 2 years ago, and they've said, I can't believe you turned down our budget. So, but now I'm at this company, and take a look here. I think this is more where your services can be used. So sometimes it pays to be honest. Occasionally,
Absolutely. No, every time it pays, to be honest.
even if our salespeople,
Yeah.
terrible idea.
Absolutely. It always pays, to be honest. So I appreciate that. Hey, this message right here is for our audience. Think about your own data driven marketing efforts and your customer acquisition strategies. What decisions have you made about data quality or marketing technology that have significantly impacted your customer engagement or business growth? We'd love for you to share your experiences with us on LinkedIn and other social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here and let's talk about leadership. So, you're a CEO and the founder. In your background, combining financial economics, creative writing, and mathematics is really what has led to your company's evolution, right? That's been able to help you guys grow up. I'm really wanting to know if there are any strategies that you actually work with your team on to build up the levels of innovation, and how do you do that while remaining really client focused?
Yeah, so I think as a client focused company, it is a bit of a challenge to manage innovation with what the clients want, because the reality is we could have the best roadmap laid out for building our products, but later today, if somebody calls and they have a large project for us, we will have to shift resources. There are certain types of people and personalities we look for hire. So we use various kind of personality tests. So there's a lot of good ones out in the market right now. I think we're using Culture Index, but it's really a way to kind of, before we even hire somebody, is just see how they react in under pressure situation. So as an example, normally when you're hiring accountants need a lot of information. They are very kind of black and white, and you don't want a creative personality typically in the account.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the numbers are beautiful.
But on the other side, when you have somebody in like a product role, that where you want some amount of innovation and attention to detail. And those are things that luckily you can test now with a lot of these various personality tests that are out there. So we look for flexibility in some of the hires we're making, because we know working for kind of a services company or an agency tends to be a lot different than if you're working at a brand, where if you're job is product, that means you're developing your own product and your clients are internal stakeholders. Whereas at Starista and companies like ours, your stakeholders could change. One day it's the CEO, but the next day it's maybe the CMO of a company that's paying us. And being able to balance that is important. So I think it starts with hiring the right people, hiring people that are a little bit more flexible in their view of the world, but then also continuous training. So one of the things that I have come to believe is we've had people that have been here since the very start, the last 10 plus years. Not everybody who's a great employee can or should be a manager of.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not equipped to be managers. Now, if they want to be managers, there's ways to train them, encourage them to do classes or even do an executive MBA. But some people just want to, or some of our best developers just want to be that. They want to be
Right. Individual contributors. I just want to do it myself.
exactly.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that's where we have done a good job. I think mixing in outside hires that are in the leadership team that did not work at Starista, but have worked at companies similar to us, and also promoting some of the guys that want to be in a leadership role internally. But it's a very different mindset. Being able to manage people, because as a good example, our CTO is a fantastic guy, Tony. He worked at a publicly traded company. So when he reached out to me, I said, Tony, look, we are growing, but there is no way I can afford your salary right now.
Right.
Said, you know what? I have made money in my last few transactions. What I want to do is work with young people, help a company like yours that I believe in a mission in.
Yeah.
So we brought somebody like him in, and we didn't bring him in because he's the best coder in the world. It's because he can build teams.
That's right.
Done it. He had his tech team was 1,000 people. So we didn't bring him in because he can code better than anybody else. And that's where I think as companies evolve, it's a different mindset. When you're bringing in a CTO or head of sales, you're not looking for these individual heroes because you already have that, right? But you want to bring in people who can make the next 10 superstars in your company.
That was good. Okay, speaking of making the next superstars, personalities and assessments and leadership, we're going to go into the decision-making personas. So here's what's going to happen in this segment. I am going to ask you 4 different questions that represent different decision-making approaches.
Okay.
And after each one, you're going to tell me how much the way that I'm asking the question resonates with how you actually approach decisions. And you'll have a scale from 0 to 100%.
Okay.
But the thing is, you only get 100% total across the entire 4 questions. Okay, so you have to keep track.
I better take some notes here.
You got it? Good. All right. So here's the first one. The first one is called the feeler. It's a values-driven leader. This persona prioritizes alignment with core values and mission, often weighing the human impact and cultural fit of decisions alongside the business metrics. When considering a major platform development or client strategy decision, I ask myself, does this align with Starista's mission to create a more transparent and measurable data-driven marketing ecosystem? Even if a more profitable feature might favor larger enterprise clients, I need to feel confident that we're building and helping brands of all sizes to engage with customers meaningfully while maintaining our privacy-compliant, transparent approach. How much of that is you?
But all the other 3 have to add up to.
You only get 100% total, but you can go 0 to 100% on each one. And you don't get to know what the others are before you choose.
Damn. All right.
So what do you call it? How much of you resonates with that way?
Yeah, I would say that's a big part of how I think. So I would probably, this is where it gets tricky. I don't know what the other ones are. So
I know.
I'll probably give it a 60%.
Okay, so right now you are 60% feeler, which leaves you with 40%. All right, here we go. The next one is called the planner. It's a strategic visionary. So this persona focuses on long-term implications and future-proofing decisions, always thinking several moves ahead and considering multiple scenarios. When I'm making strategic decisions about Starista's platform evolution or market expansion, I ask myself, What are the long-term implications of this choice for the data-driven marketing industry over the next 5 to 10 years? I need to map out how privacy regulations, AI adoption in marketing, and changing consumer data expectations are going to evolve, ensuring that our platform capabilities position us for multiple possible futures in an increasingly complex marketing technology landscape.
Wow, this is good.
What's your percentage on the planner?
I will give it a 15%.
Okay, you're keeping track of what you got left.
Yep, I got a pen and paper here, old school.
Awesome. Okay, here's your next one. It's called The Counter. It's matter of fact, before we go on, tell me a little bit more about your why on the planner. Give me maybe an example.
Yeah, so I think planning is important, but the reality is also that we are also very, very client focused. So I actually kind of look at it this way. I can plan everything I want, but because things are so dynamic in our
Yes.
industry and regulations, it's almost impossible sometimes to plan things out because let's just say tomorrow California passes amended law, which can just happen. Maryland has a big privacy law going into effect in October. So there's just so many things that could happen. It's almost impossible to guess. So that's why I rated it lower.
Yeah, all good. Okay, very nice. The counter is the next one. It's the challenger of assumptions. So this persona naturally questions conventional wisdom and looks for contrarian opportunities, often finding success by zigging when others zag. So when evaluating new data capabilities or marketing technology trends, I ask myself, what assumptions are we making about customer data and omnichannel marketing that might be fundamentally wrong? What is everyone else in the marketing technology space doing that we should question? I tend to dig into why certain data approaches work and whether there's a more innovative method the industry isn't seeing, especially given our unique position combining data, email, and digital execution internally.
I would say so. A lot of what I try to do is we are looking for new innovative ways, but we also try to double down on what's working because the marketing landscape there's a lot of advertising dollars that are available to all of us. And the way we look at it is if we just did what we are doing really well, we could almost be twice in the size. So as much as I would like to change things and challenge things, sometimes it's really what's in front of us that's a easier way to grow our solution. So I will give that, let's see here, 75, 85. I'll give that a 5%.
Okay, 5% counter. All right. And we've got one more. So you got 20% left to work with, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So the last one is called the data driver, evidence-based decision maker. So this persona relies heavily on metrics, analytics, and concrete evidence to validate decisions, preferring proof over intuition. Before making important decisions about platform development, client strategy, or market expansion, I ask myself, what does our performance data actually tell us about customer acquisition effectiveness, campaign ROI, and long-term client success across different industry verticals? I want to see concrete analytics on everything from data accuracy rates and campaign performance to client retention and revenue growth. That way, we can validate our strategic instincts about where to invest resources for maximum impact.
All right. That's going to be a 20 then.
That's the whole 20. All right. Do you want to change anything?
You know what? I probably do 60, 15, 75. Actually, I'd probably do 55 and then do 15 where it was. So that's 70. And then I would probably do 15 and 15.
Okay. That's good. It's pretty balanced. So we got 55% feeler, 15% planner, 15% counter, and 15% data driver. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. It's just a fun way to sort of
fun.
assess your way of decision making. And if your team is listening, they can gain some insights about how you're going to decide on information, right? So to wrap up what we've been talking about, you've built a successful company. I'd love to know if you could give one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur in this space. What would it be?
Here's the most important thing to me is I just got back from the conference I was telling you about with the award show, right? And one of the things that I believe in so much is we had a table called, it was a group of people that I had, a few of them worked at Starista, but mostly the 7 people I did not know until the conference. It was Table 39. We have a group text thread now called Table 39.
On Table 39? Yes.
But I think the point is that a lot of times people are so focused on not making these human connections that we are missing out on ability to network. Because if I had gone to this conference with the mindset, I'm only going to talk to these 3 companies, I'm going to want to talk to Wells Fargo and T-Mobile and somebody else, I wouldn't have opened myself to these folks and conversations. And the reality is that none of those people are prospects right now for me, but we had such a great conversations. We all got to know each other over the 2 days. We were kind of joking this is the most fun table, although I don't think we were joking. So, but I think putting yourself out there, having conversations without always having a profit mindset is most important, because at the end of the day, when you're starting out, you feel like you need to have these conversations that are going to automatically put you in this Salesforce funnel and it'll drive sales. But the reality is that's not how the big deals work. Nobody is going to give you $1 million deal unless you have been talking to them, unless you have their cell phone numbers and conversations. So Table 39 may not do any business this year together, but who knows? But I bet in the next 5 years, we are all going to work with each other in some capacity. Someone might even end up working at Starista. So it's just being open and making sure you're making those human connections, which was, we lost a few years in COVID over that. But I think, conferences are very much back, and it doesn't have to be a big conference. It could be a local conference or a local networking gathering, but just keep talking to people. Eventually, you're going to make some connections. That's going to be a big break for you.
Go get your Table 39, y'all. Go get your Table 39. Can you share with our listeners where they can learn more about you and Starista?
Yeah, so I am very, very active on LinkedIn. So if they search my name and Starista, I'll pop up there for probably the easiest way to keep a tab on me. The company is very active on Instagram and LinkedIn, and we even have a TikTok channel now. So that's pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
Of course, Starista.com, which is available for general information. But yeah, follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram, and probably the best way. We put out a lot of good content. Some of it has nothing to do with Starista per se, but just marketing in general and events that are happening around us.
Well, thank you so much for being here, AJ. I just appreciate your transparency, your openness. It's been an awesome conversation. And for our listeners, thank you so, so much for being here with us. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe it, rate it, and share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.